I then had Lamborghini, Aston Martin, and Maserati all in my DMs.
I'm glad you've mentioned it.
If they're coming to you, they should trust your creative vision and trust that you're going to create something that they want.
Yeah, YouTube, I think once you invest the time into it, because I've seen the results.
Wow.
Sweet. Ben, we were just discussing, it's been 2021. It was the last time we hung out. So for those of you who don't know who you are, what's your name? What kind of content do you create?
So my name's Ben, obviously. And I create like lifestyle, automotive, fashion, tutorial-based content on YouTube. Lots of like dabble into all the little things here and there. What about yourself?
So my name's Mike Will, photographer, director, more based in the photography space, but obviously leaning towards into video. And it can be anything from just the photos I create to now lots of brands obviously wanting me to be in the content. So therefore, there is that aspect I've had to adapt and change and learn how to be in front of the camera as well as behind it.
Yeah,
it's definitely something I'm sure that you were early on. I remember the content you were creating early on was like street fashion, and that's when I first followed you, and that was super cool. So you already had that as part of your.
I've always tried to make sure that the fashion and lifestyle stay there because that's where that's the background. But then obviously adapting into that is, dabbling into tech and automotive, all of those things.
And what led you into that first at the beginning?
I think it was just like the interest in fashion, and when I first picked up a camera, I was shooting like all the latest sneakers that were coming out, like the Off-Whites, the 10, and I was like going to exhibitions and just documenting what I was seeing.
Yeah, sick.
With my, I think, what did I have at the time? 5D Mark II with a Sigma 24. That was my setup, and then that led into like kind of looking into video, and then once you get into this world, everything starts to sort of make its way into something along your journey. If that makes sense. Like, there's always going to be something that makes its way into what you're doing, whether it's video, editing, it's always part of it. What about yourself? What led you into creating? I
think I just enjoyed going out and seeing the world through the camera. It was just something a bit different, and night photography got me into that kind of space. Seeing especially the city, like bringing it to life in an environment that maybe when you go out in the dark you don't necessarily see it. So bus flares, creating with light painting was something that I really enjoyed early on, and then that kind of progressed into shooting music festivals. So again, a lot of low light photography there. So that kind of is what started, and that's what I definitely enjoy the most.
Yeah, I mean, I saw when did I come across your stuff? I'm trying to think now. It was around the time I met Andrea, I think.
Okay, so that's my housemate. For those who don't know.
I think that was around the time I met Andrea, and then like UK. I knew that you was always UK shooters.
Yeah.
But then, I came across your stuff when I met Andrea, and then like all of the team that you're with, like Luke and Keenan, they all started coming to light because I was like, oh, these are the London guys. Because I feel like the London community is quite small. Like I feel like with photographers especially. When I first started, I was like, didn't really know how to like link up with people. There was no thing that we would like go to link up. It was just like through DM and stuff. And then obviously the UK shooters with a massive community and always has been, and it's just like completely leveling up every year. So I think it's been such a cool way to get people to meet up. Yeah,
it definitely early on was quite small, and I feel now it's got a lot bigger, but it's definitely something that I wanted to do because I didn't like shooting on my own. It was definitely about shooting with other people and meeting other creators. So community was a big part of that, and I will talk about shooters later on. I'm sure. So, off the top of your head, what's your favorite brand collaboration in a few words, and why? Have you got one?
Favorite brand collaboration. I would say, one of them would be working with Sidemen.
Okay, sick.
And just being alongside them when they make content and
seeing what's going on there. It's
Sidemen as a brand, it's just a lot of fun. There's a lot of chaos, but it's good chaos. Doing like my role along that was like drone footage and cinematography, photography. So I take on all those little roles throughout. If they're filming a video in the States or something, dabbling into pretty much every single creative form, and then just creating with those boys is just good fun. And yeah, it kind of teaches you to, even though it's hectic at the time, you've got to be really quick on, capturing those moments where, something funny might be happening.
Yeah, you've got to be rolling all the time.
Yeah, rolling 24/7, directing the boys as and when they need to. But yeah, that was probably one of the fun and most memorable clients, I think.
And then I'll run through these with you, and then we can go back to me. So, do you prefer complete creative freedom or a big budget with no creative freedom?
I prefer creative freedom, but then sometimes you've got to chin big budget. So you've got to pay the bills somehow. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to, it's either or. I think creative freedom, it gives you way more time just to really figure out and make something that you're super proud of, if that makes sense. Whereas if they're telling you what to do and they're not going to be budging on, changing it, you've got to chin it. It depends how big the budget is.
Yeah, and then tight turnaround or delayed payment?
Oh, tight turnaround every day. I feel like everything I do is a tight turnaround.
I feel like the industry is just tight turnaround and delayed budget. So we'll go with, I also agree with tight turnaround on that one. Yeah,
what's your favourite brand you've worked with?
That's a
good I'm going to guess, actually.
Question. Go on then.
Let me guess. I reckon the favourite brand you've worked with I reckon Sony.
So Sony is definitely, so it's between Sony and Bentley. And the reason is because the relationship is so strong with both of those brands, and they're willing to listen to my creative output and what I think would be really cool to do. I think one of my favorite brand collaborations and most proud was the release of the Sony A7C II and the A7CR and 1635 GM Mark II when they released all of them on the same. We went to Iceland, and I created the launch video for it. It was the launch video for Europe. It was played at the premiere of when this was announced. It was obviously 2 camera bodies and a brand new lens. So that was a pretty special moment that kind of came full cycle after I began shooting my photography career on Sony, and to then be asked to create a launch video was a pretty special thing. So
crazy.
Yeah, you're right with that. I was in my head, I was thinking between Bentley and Sony, and so the Sony is definitely up there with that. And it was as I said, amazing to kind of be.
I bet it's like a pinch me moment almost, or essentially for people like us, dream clients like DJI or the stuff that we use every day, and then all of a sudden you're working for them. Yeah. That's with Sidemen. I'd watched JJ for ages, since the FIFA days.
And then suddenly
I'm on shoots with them.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how life works like that, but we're here.
Yeah, it's good fun.
What do you prefer? Complete creative freedom or tight or big budget?
Definitely creative freedom. But you're right, there is those moments where you take a big budget because you know that's going to give you creative freedom on the next shoot. So I would say it's a split between 50-50, especially for me at the moment, because there's so many inbound jobs coming in that they have creative freedom, but they're still what that brand wants. And therefore I feel like that's coming on that. And then we've already discussed the next one. I said definitely tight turnaround.
Tight turnaround. It's how it is in this industry.
Yeah. So do you want to go ahead with the next?
Yeah, quick fire round. I'll start. Edit on your laptop or edit on your phone?
Laptop all day, or Mac, or laptop. Edit on your laptop or edit on your phone? Laptop.
Phone's too small, man.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Do you know what? For quick little things, I use an app called Unfold.
Okay.
You ever heard of it? Unfold?
I have,
so make little stories on that. That's the only editing thing I do on my phone.
I can't even do that. Even my photos, I have to just have it all in front of me on a big screen.
That's for stories.
So fair. I mean, I just can't do it. I have to do that. S-Log or Rec 709?
S-Log.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Color grade or straight out of a camera?
Well, it depends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Controversial. Why?
If it's so obviously S-Cinetone. If it's something that I've had clients that just want just the most basic footage ever, but I know if I send them S-Log footage, they won't be able to color grade it.
Yeah.
So for my own stuff will be log, but if someone wants just some footage of something, and I know that person is just going to use that footage,
got you.
They don't want to sit and grade it. I'll just do S-Cinetone and send it straight to them.
Good insight. Grade for me for sure.
Yeah.
Long form, short form.
Do you know what? Last year I tried short form and I liked it, but I miss making long form videos. That whole year I look back and I was like, okay, I've seen the growth, I've seen the way short form works, but I enjoy the outcome of sitting there and making a long video. I don't know if it's the same for you.
Yeah,
that's because I've got YouTube as a background. Whereas I feel like with Instagram or TikTok, you can't post a 10-minute.
No, yeah. I mean, agreed. I definitely prefer long form because I feel there's just more soul in it. But short form just seems to be consumed at such a fast rate that you can just churn it out and get that kind of leverage in the industry with a social following, and then you can create that for brands. But actually, my thing this year is to move back into long form because I did it for a while, stopped, pushed short form, and now I want to go back and kind of re-navigate that that landscape.
There's just more of like, I feel like there's more of a feeling when you release like a film or you release a piece of content that's just over 10 minutes long.
Yeah,
you spend 2 days editing it, and you've
also shooting it so much longer, and it's like you're more. I guess you're just more. Your relationship with that piece of content is just a bit deeper as well.
You're documenting. Like I feel like vlogging. This is something I wanted to do at the beginning of this year. Vlogging has, like, for me, I came into this year and I was like, last year I didn't make any long form videos. All I made was short form.
Mad, didn't know.
So all I'm gonna do, literally I made like 3 or 4, I think. And then I was like, do you know what? I'm just gonna document everything I do this year,
and then
I'm just gonna film it
together.
all.
Yeah, sick.
Just see what I can get, because something will come from it, something won't. But it's better to film it than not. Do you know what I mean?
Agreed. Yeah, you can get that. If you had to lose one piece of your kit, we'll list them. We'll list a couple off here. We've got tripod, camera, laptop, phone. What else should we add to that?
SD card.
Hard drive. Maybe gimbal.
Yeah.
What would it be, and why?
Well, I mean, if I lost a tripod, I wouldn't really care. If I lost a phone or a camera, I'd be.
I think my laptop would be the one I would least want to lose because that has the most amount of information and stuff on it that I just couldn't recover. Camera, I mean,
if you're
annoying.
It's not the end.
Yeah, I have insurance. I don't want to lose any of it, to be honest. But I guess I will go with tripod because that is the.
I mean, I've seen some tripods about $1,000.
Yeah, luckily mine's pretty cheap.
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't be too pissed if I lost a £100 tripod. I can't lie. So, what are some challenges you face as a creator?
I mean, early on, it was a case of like maneuvering how to sculpt, how to build your client basis, and how to turn it from a hobby into a full-time job. And then once you build it into a full-time job, I think a big thing is like motivation, how you stay motivated to continue to create. And then it gets to a stage of like, then you're at a stage where it's like, how do you actually then continue, and which brands you say no to because you're then at a level where you're just getting so much interest and that kind of thing. So that it's a very long-winded answer, but the challenges early on were like, how do I build this into a business? And for me, it was a case of being someone that was reliable, being someone that would always say yes to the project and get it done on time or early to the best of my ability, which would, obviously be what I would consider great, and just making sure that it was done in the manner that I really enjoyed doing it, and having passion. I think that was a big thing as well. There's been stages where like passion drops out of it, and therefore that's quite a big challenge to try and keep passionate. But
because you want to like still enjoy what you're doing, but then when you've got like a backlog of loads of things, that is like this on your mind,
you have so much to then do. Yeah,
I would say some of the challenges I face as a creator is trying to not get burnt out, because there's so much like it's gonna be off topic. I went to Tahiti 2 weeks ago for 2 weeks, lived on a boat, no signal. Like
bad experience?
Oh, incredible.
Okay,
like Bora Bora, sailed around
nice.
Bora Bora,
amazing.
like crazy experience, but was not online, no phones.
Okay.
So
you
and
had detox.
I literally had my camera, my video camera, my photo camera, drone, and obviously I was there for a job to capture content. But I was like, those 2 weeks I had at sea where I had no phone, I was like, you know what, this is crazy. Like I'd wake up and you speak to someone, you play board games at night or whatever it is, and it's like
you'd learn so much more about
I feel like I was so like not overwhelmed by what I was seeing online and being like, I need to be at this person's level. I need to be like, uploading as regularly as this person. I was just there being myself and just not feeling like the pressure to keep creating, So I feel like as a creator, something that I definitely like feel is challenging is just, try not to get burnt out and taking that like breaks to, you know, come back and shoot things and feel motivated to shoot rather than, I've been, you know, filming and editing for like 5 days straight.
I think a lot of people suffer from that as well, and it's a case of finding out what works for you, because there's lots of ways to kind of maneuver that, but but
it's hard when you're in this industry to like,
you can't take a break,
to not go off Instagram or social media. But okay, so what are some of your techniques for growing and engaging with your audience?
Some techniques for growing and engaging with my audience would be constantly, obviously, posting consistent content. So that would be across multiple platforms. Engaging is in the question, engaging with those people, replying to their comments, replying to their DMs, and building that community of people that, you know, they see you as someone that they want to ask questions about. Maybe it's, you know, photography techniques or what apps you're using to edit, or whatever it might be, and just replying to those, because that's how then that audience and audience members will then be far more engaged in your content, because that's how I feel that's a really good way to do it.
And BTS as well,
and behind the scenes.
I think that's one of the biggest things. I think it's all well and good, you know, you post an amazing shot and it's sick, you spent ages editing it, but then like, where's the question of how's he got that, what's he done to take that? I feel like that's where, you know, behind the scenes and, you know, documenting everything around it is where, you know, your audience can definitely get some value. Yeah, for sure, definitely.
What about yourself?
I would say it would be like teaching, if that makes sense. So for me, it'd be like filming tutorials and filming long form videos would be what I would want to give my audience, because if I know something or if I've found out how to do something, it'd be, in my head when I started, I was like, this would be really cool to share this with people. And, you know, the questions that you get asked maybe on DM or on comments, where, you know, you've posted a crazy shot and someone's like, oh, how did you remove people from this? How did you grade it like this? And then you're like, oh, do you know what? I can make a YouTube video just breaking down everything I've done to this. And then that way they've got some value from, you know,
watching it.
Yeah, watching it. Or even just, you know, it could be someone who's never heard of you before. Yeah. And then they come across that video and they're like, oh, do you know what? I never thought about it like that. If that makes sense. So yeah, just giving value to people and just showing them as much as you can behind the scenes really would be
BTS
really
and tutorial based content I think is also really, really good. So in terms of content to growing, that's a really good way, and then consistently doing that will have hopefully elevate your success. Sure. Couple of quick fires. Are you with management or are you independent?
I'm with a manager, but he only manages me. Okay, so I wouldn't say it's management, but it's
a friend.
Solo management. I've been with him since the Hypebeast days.
Okay, nice.
That's what I'll call it, the Hypebeast days. Yeah, I've been with him for 6-7 years now.
So he just looks after you.
We've just grown the relationship.
Yeah, fine.
He knows what I'm like.
Cool, and knows what you want to do. And
exactly.
I guess that means it's also good for him.
You're not with management, are you?
I am actually.
Are you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just kept it pretty chilled. I signed at the beginning of the year. It was becoming so much inbound work and opportunity, which was amazing, but I felt that I was not creating anymore. I was just replying to emails and replying about budgets and talking about the ideas I had to create. And there was a turning point when I was in Singapore. I spent 6 hours on emails when I really wanted to be out exploring the city. And then I was going back and forth with one particular client. And then at the end of it, he just came back and was like, oh, this is our budget actually. So let me know what you can do for that. And I'd written out this massive email with like all these different, deliverables that they wanted. And it was like, I don't know, like 30 stories, 10 reels, like all this sort of stuff. So I'm breaking it all down. It took hours to do, plus then a few other things. And then he came back and I was like, you know what, I'm done with this. I was like, I'm signing, because they would already messaged me. And that was like the moment where I was like, yeah, cool.
Was it for a big client? And did they take the job?
Big. I took the job, yeah, but I took it myself. But then afterwards, I wish I'd signed before, because then it was like I then wasted 6 hours when I was in Singapore trying to work on this email of like really getting it down, and I was like, they could have done that for me. So that was a turning moment. But it's really so far so good. It's been great. I think that both ways work as a creator, and I think early on it was good for me to learn, good for me to kind of manage myself, and then now I'm at a stage where I just want to create. I don't want to have to think about those emails, those budgets and everything else. And so that's great where they can come in. We also have now outbound. So there's been a few brands that I really wanted to work with, but never had the time or energy to approach. and they're just straight on it. So big thing for me was that as well. So.
Yeah, I feel like one thing that it's always been like a thing in the back of my mind where I'm like, I should be doing more outreach, but then I'm like, well, I'm working with brands right now, so I don't want to have more. If that makes sense. But that's when you start expanding your team.
Yeah.
Then you have people to help out with certain projects.
Yeah, exactly.
So you hand it over, and then you guys can like split the payload, the workload.
Yeah, exactly. Whether that's you have someone to come in and shoot with you, or whether you have someone to help edit, or whatever it might be. There's definitely ways you can do that. But for me as well, it was just a case of there was I was just some new brands I really wanted to like freshen up my portfolio. So.
Did you reach out to management, or did they?
No, they reached out to me.
Is it?
I had a couple, and then there was one that just it just felt timing was right.
Yeah,
it aligned with some of the things that I was.
And
saying.
have you seen results from being with them?
Yeah, they've done a great job. So.
Wow. Didn't know you had management. No. Did not know that. You've always been on a bit of a mad one.
Yeah.
How do you work on building creator relationships?
So relationships with one another. Yeah. I think early on it was just like a case of DMing, hanging out, shooting. I mean, that's the main thing. You go out and shoot. Like we did that shoot for fun up in the Peak District.
Yeah.
So you build those relationships. You'd have a good time. And that's the same as everyone I hang out with. It's literally just been from going out and shooting. So as photographers and videographers, I think it's quite easy to do that. In other spaces, I'm not sure what it's like in fashion. I'm not sure what it's like in influencing. I'm not sure how that kind of works, but I feel very fortunate that the photography and video space is very communal and very you want to help each other out.
Yeah, I think the same actually. Definitely the way forward is meeting up with people, going to like the events. Even if you're going on your own, I think sometimes people are a bit scared about going to just like a creative photography event just like by themselves. But then you get, I don't know, I'm speaking for myself here, but it doesn't bother me like going on, going to places by myself where I might be meeting new people if I'm, scared about what they're going to think of me or whatever. I feel like I kind of got over that.
Yeah.
And I think just putting yourself out there and just going to these events and going to whatever interests you will benefit you as a creative, because like the worst thing you can do is just sit at home and be like, oh, maybe I'll go to the next one and never go.
You all have one thing in common, which is you love the content you're creating, or photography, video, whatever it might be. And so that common interest, you can spark up any conversation, whether it's about what camera you're shooting on, what lens you're using, what editing software you use. You all have something that you can instantly start a conversation. So I feel like, I'm not good at putting myself out there as a solo person. It sounds like you're a little bit better than me, but I feel like once you go to those things, you then, as you said, like you all have something in common, and actually you all just want to hang out and meet other creators. So definitely agree with that.
You just want to have fun as well.
Mm-hmm. And do you think you have a healthy relationship with social media? Does it run your life?
Do you know what? It does and it doesn't.
Okay.
Like, I will go on socials. I've since getting back from that trip, I've allowed myself to have like max 2 hours a day, just like looking through socials or like getting inspo.
Okay.
Because consuming content is good because you get it can spark ideas, and you watch like someone on YouTube and it can spark an idea and you think, oh, I've never done it like that, or maybe I'll try this way of filming. But then sometimes you can just get into a rut where you just mindlessly scrolling and you're like, I'm just sitting here scrolling and to be out creating. So it's I think for me, I've sort of, last year was quite bad. I was on the socials, I think, too much last year because I was trying to figure out how to make short form content because it was so alien to me. Last year, I was trying to, I was watching what other people do, and I was like, how do I do this? Because all I was used to, like back in the day, do you remember when you used to post photos on Gram, and then the video would go on YouTube?
Yeah,
that was what I was used to. And then all of a sudden, like short form and TikTok just came out. It didn't come out of nowhere, but it like really, really sort of took off. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh God, like there's a whole new thing now that I need to think about. And that's like making my longer videos shorter.
Yeah.
So
and something else for you to have to create.
And adapting to it. So I think now I've got a pretty decent relationship with social media, whereas last year it was a bit on the ropes.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
I think it's generally pretty good. I would say that it's a very healthy relationship, but I would say that my life is ran by it to a certain extent. because there's never a moment that I'm not thinking about, okay, I've got to post later on today, whether it be on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube, or my newsletter, or LinkedIn, or whatever it might be. So there's always something I'm thinking about. So in terms like it's quite like draining.
Yeah.
But I feel that like I don't spend a huge amount of time consuming it. I'll go on, I'll check out what other creators are doing, I'll engage, and then I'll move on to the next project I have, really. So there's not a huge amount of time for me to get sucked into a
Those are like posting
hole.
Stories and just like letting, just updating people, but also not doing it too much.
No, exactly. So I would say it's definitely healthy, but I would say that it does control there's certain times I'm like, okay, I can't go out for dinner because I have to make sure that I do this, I do that, and I have to post, and I have to
post at this
time. And like, there's certain things that I feel it has, but also those are like mini sacrifices that you make to then have more success in the future, where not going out for that dinner on a Thursday means that you maybe post that sponsored ad, you get the money to then be able to go on a holiday, which is then, you know what I mean? So like I feel that's like give and take with certain things.
Definitely.
And what's your creative process when receiving a brief and working with a brand?
So something that I've been doing a lot more recently is actually scripting and shortlisting. I never really used to do that. Like going 2 years back, I would just take on the project and just go for it. Whereas now it's sort of like breaking it down and using, websites like iCandy, using that. I use that to structure YouTube videos that I do that aren't even branded, just because it
gives you more.
Yeah, it gives you way more. Like when I'm filming like a vlog or something, or I want to make, some cool shots within my vlog, I'm like, oh, okay. And I go in there and I sort of like shot list a couple of things. So I think definitely when receiving a brief as well, I will spend a day and like analyze exactly what I can do, how I can relay, whether it's like a message or an advert. You want to create something that's true to you as well. That's kind of going back to that last question where I was like, would you rather create something for like a bigger budget or creative freedom? So I think definitely trying to create something that's you, rather than, I would essentially say, I wouldn't even say copying, but doing something different. I think that's a really, really important thing as well when it comes to like taking on a brief and working with a brand. Like, how can you
put your spin on it?
How can you value them as well as vice versa?
Absolutely. I think personally I actually like interestingly have like a whole ton of ideas in the back of my head.
Yeah.
And then I kind of like bring them forward when they potentially work for that particular brand, whether it be a car brand or
you have all of them in your head, or do you write them down?
No, I have them in my head.
You don't write? I write everything down. I put them all in.
Do you?
In like I have a tablet.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I just put them in a.
No, I just have a ton of ideas constantly circulating in my head, and I'm like, oh, that would be cool, and then that would be cool, and then generally when a brief comes in, I'm like, oh, that would be cool for that idea I had, and then it would then come to light, and I'd be like, yeah, this is the idea. I would then. It's a tough one. Like, how do you feel this is off the cards? A brand comes to you, let's use a phone brand as an example, and they say, hey, Ben, we love your content. We want you to pitch us an idea that you can come up with, and then we'll take it. This is an agency. Take it to the brand and maybe you'll get this, maybe you won't. How do you feel about this? Because basically the reason I ask is recently a friend had it happen to him, and then they didn't go with him because they said the budget was too big, and then 6 months later he's seen that exact concept to a T be used by someone else on an ad for them. Yeah,
that's crazy. I would probably now that you've put that to light, I'll probably be a bit more aware of it, and aware of telling my idea to a brand.
I always keep it very vanilla. It's very much like, it'll be cool. Give me the contract. You'll hear it then.
Yeah, I think that's something I've never had that happen to me. So I would essentially look at, for instance, like a phone brand, or if it depends. If they're never really saying in an email like, what have you they don't literally say what ideas do you have.
So there was a few recently that have come in, and I've always been very like vague with everything I've ever done, and now I'm even more vague with everything I've ever done. But I also feel like if a brand's wanting you to pitch, I feel if they're coming to you, they should trust your creative vision and trust that you're going to create something that they want. And that's kind of the approach that now I've told management, and now I've told other brands as well. It's like, listen, if you're coming to us, like, you got to trust that you want Mike's creative vision. This is what he's going to create, something cool, or whatever it is that they wording they use. And then from there, as long as the contract comes in or there's some sort of verbal agreement on email that this is going to come through, let's get this, get the ideas into play. That's when I can then step in and say, okay, I've got this idea, and we can then move that forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was something that I'd never really heard of. And then it happened. And I was always cautious about it. And then when it did happen to someone, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm actually going to be even more cautious.
Yeah. And see, I was never... Now, I'm glad you've mentioned it, because I'm going to be aware of this now. But I think, for definitely, it'd be more so, for instance, you use a phone brand, for example, looking at, specific features of the phone. And then you think, okay, how can I work on that feature in order to show it, essentially? How can I use specific elements of locations in order to exaggerate the features of a phone, for instance? I was talking to Yuri from Barcelona, Yuri Cigar.
Maybe not.
I went skiing with him. He's a really talented filmmaker, and we were talking about an idea. We had a laptop company reach out, and it was all of these different things on the laptop, the spreadsheet on the features, and we were like, oh, we could essentially go to different places that are go somewhere hot, go somewhere cold, and show it in these different environments. And it was a really, really cool concept that we come up with. But then we never, like you said, pitched that exact idea. We would just trust us to make the video, and it will look good.
Okay, sick. Well, I'm glad it moved forward and didn't go, no, that's cool, we'll take that.
Yeah, no, that's never happened. But it's
just something that I wanted to start thinking about more often, because it would be interesting to hear if anyone else had that happen to them as well.
No.
The brief has come in, 6-second campaign. Do you want to go first or shall I?
You go first.
All right, fine. God, it's tiny writing here. Okay. Luxury paint DIY. A leading paint brand wants to encourage homeowners to unleash their creativity as they anticipate the summer months through the power of color. Spruce up your home with a DIY project using this brand's luxury paint range. The brand has a tight turnaround. This campaign is in 14 days. I'd say that's pretty all right. 14 days is quite a long time. Yeah, that's a really long, to be honest. So they want easy and quick DIY upcycle project. Transform your home with a whole room makeover. Deliverables, Instagram reel, paid usage on Instagram for 30 days. So, firstly, let's hear your pitch. Although you can be vague if you don't want to give it away. And, I'm coming to you because you're a great creator. And then secondly, what would you charge for this campaign?
Paint brand.
That's tough.
So they want you to... Can you read the brief one more time?
Yeah, of course I can. Oh, all right, here we go. A leading brand wants you to encourage homeowners to unleash their creativity as they anticipate the summer months through the power of color. Spruce up your home with a DIY project using the brand's luxury paint range. I'd probably tell management that I'm good. I don't really fancy this one.
So,
tight turnaround, 14 days, quite a long. That's
a pretty decent time, I think.
Lots of time.
Maybe doing I would say maybe just. Well, I'm thinking you have to make a room in your house, mess it up, make it look. I was thinking make it look really, really shit.
Yeah, true.
Say you had a room in your house that you really wanted decorating. I had my office done recently. I could have completely messed it up and made it look like a really crappy room. Just put some old furniture in, and maybe the hero video would have been a dolly shot. So it'd be the same shot, and it goes through the door, and then it as the camera's moving in, it transforms. If that makes sense. So I think getting an old room you have in your house could be quite a good idea, and then completely revamping that and making a video kind of. It can be quite. I reckon it could be quite. You can make it quite funny.
Instagram reel.
Yeah,
so it's short form.
You can make it quite you can make it quite hilarious and sort of make a sort of. This is how I transform this room into this, making it TikTok-y. But 14 days is pretty good.
Yeah.
For a turnaround time.
And what would you charge for this campaign?
Oh.
In the estimate.
For one reel?
One reel with your followers currently at, what do your followers follow you at on Instagram?
135.
135.
Yeah.
So 135 what would you charge as a campaign? One Instagram reel. Roughly. How much do you want it?
Oh.
You don't have to.
5K.
5K.
Yeah.
He's gone in. Boom. Cool.
5K. I'd probably make it quite light-hearted. I'd try and maybe it'd be the first thing I'm thinking of in my mind is maybe you could like hire some actors or someone. You could have like a family
Budget's
and then
gone.
have them like, oh yeah, budget's go. Yeah, the budget would be, yeah. Say having like a fake family, like recreate a room or something, or even doing like building. What I would probably do in this circumstance actually would be like building my dream setup.
Yeah, cool.
And I would just and I'd make a setup. But then I'd obviously invest some of my own money into it. So I'd be like, this is for me now.
This is a tough one for us, considering that we both are more tech and less luxury paint. But
luxury paint is pretty. You can get creative.
What have I got?
Okay. So you can get creative with luxury paint. You can get like a fake paint can and put like a really wide lens in and do some cool stuff.
Yeah, I think I'd probably get one of those and do something creative with like droplets and then.
Yeah, you could definitely do something cool with it. Okay, so. Mike, here's your one.
Okay, let's go.
To inspire your audience to journal more and to get their ideas from pen to paper.
Of course, tough, I don't write.
Whether it's reflecting on your day or doing a brain dump, highlighting the benefits of jotting things down in the brand's highest quality journals and daily planner notebooks.
Okay, actually, to be fair, I do jot my notes. Every day I write the date and I go, this is what today's plan is, because I quite enjoy scrubbing things off. So that could work. Okay. I don't write long form. That's not for me. So we'll go with the daily jot. I like that.
Create content that passes helpful hints or tips on your tips on to your audience within the content that educates your audience whilst ensuring it is also realistic and attainable.
Okay. So instantly I'm thinking...
really small.
A day, that writing's small. Probably more of like a day in the life. So what it's like to be with me in the day of like content creation, or maybe I'm working with a big brand. So the pitch would be, okay, so I'm doing this shoot. It's kind of come along and show more behind the scenes, as we've said. Try and give value. Any advert, I'm trying to do some sort of value to keep the audience engaged with it. So the value would be maybe it's behind the scenes or tutorial based on how I created something, whether that's a setup or whether it's something else. I'm jotting these ideas down. I mean, my ideas are very like literally one word, which will be, or two words, email Ben. So that'd be like, okay, I know I've got to do that. So like, it'd be quite, there won't be a huge amount of focus on the writing part, but it will just be like that generally what I would jot down throughout the day, and then how I check those things off through the day using that very luxury notepad.
So your deliverable is one TikTok video.
TikTok.
6-month organic usage on brand-owned social channels, 1 month UK paid usage rights or influencer channels. But it says here concept examples.
Oh, right, okay, go on then.
Timestamp vlog.
Okay. So that's basically
highlighting the moments throughout the day with journal/planning naturally integrated.
Okay.
Before and after. Show how jotting things down in your journal/planners has transformed your daily life and goals in a big or small way.
I should have waited for that for you to finish your question, but yeah, okay, that's pretty much what I said. I'm glad I was online there. Perfect. Budget, it's a tough one.
It's TikTok, man.
Yeah, but so recently I've now, because I feel like I'm busy enough, I don't want any extra work. I don't then cut my rate for TikTok. So my rate is the same as what it would be for Instagram, even if it's only on TikTok, because I don't want a brand to come in and know that I have less followers, but it's still me creating the work. It's still what I'm doing, and therefore I haven't changed my rate there. So yeah, I've kept that the same.
It's just the platform that's different, right?
It's just the platform is different, which I appreciate, but that also means that I'm less bothered about it if they don't.
Yeah.
If it doesn't come through, because like it also depends how much I want this brief. This I'm probably about a 3 out of 10. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go high. I'm probably gonna go. If it's TikTok only,
and it's one TikTok video,
yeah, but I'm still charging what I would charge more. Yeah, we're going at least 8K.
Okay, fine.
Because I just don't want it.
But the thing is, though, as a creative, I feel like you may be similar to me on this one. But like for us, people like me, you, Keenan, Andrea, all of the boys, we have a certain pride when it comes to creating something. Do you know what I mean? As in, like, we want to make it look good.
Yeah, exactly.
And it needs to look like our standard of work, for instance. Whereas you could be someone who is famous on TikTok for something that's really, really, like, not what we do.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Like, you could be famous for doing something stupid, or not something stupid, but it's just a different type of creator, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the fact that it's not going to be any different, I'm not going to make it any different than what I would for my Instagram.
That's what
at the moment. That unless my TikTok content creation like direction changes, but at the moment it's the same as.
Because different creators can like make something. For instance, like one of my friends, Moyo, he's a really, really like he's a personality creator. He's like really funny. And he just like, he makes videos where he like roasts Met Gala outfits and stuff. But he gets crazy views. And he's such a good personality. He would probably do a completely different, he would interpret this brief
very different.
So different to how we would, if that makes sense. So someone like him, he could probably like, because he's just such a bubbly and lovely personality, he could just pick up a camera and just like talk to it and get people engaged, if that makes sense, and be like, make something humorous about it. But it'd probably take him like half the time to make it as we would be sitting there and trying to create like a whole story behind it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the beauty of having different creators within Instagram, TikTok, that everyone has their own way of creating, and also means there's so much opportunity for everyone to create, because there's always going to be something that people want to watch because there's so many people out there. So that's something that's been pretty cool to see with the growth of TikTok.
Yeah, definitely.
So I definitely think that. But yeah, for me, it's not a brief I'm that excited about. I've gone high, don't really want it. I've told management, if you get it, great. If not, cool, on to the next one.
That's so funny. Okay.
Cool, so
Money talks.
Money talks.
It does.
What is your highest paid deal? You don't have to give me an exact number, but roughly.
It was actually this year.
Was it?
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah, it was this
Sick.
year.
You say the brand, or are you going to just...
It was in New York.
Okay. You don't have to say.
No, I just for safety.
Yeah,
but
fine.
It was in New York.
Cool. So we can.
But it was a great brief. Like, great place to shoot. New York's incredible.
Yeah, it's an amazing place to shoot. There's
like,
so much.
For someone who's from London and you're in the city, you go to New York and you're like, whoa, like everything looks like a movie. So to create content over there, as soon as I was out there, I was like, yeah, this is. There's so many like places to go to, and you just feel like you're in a film. Yeah, I missed the snow by one day.
That's a dream of mine to shoot.
Me and Keenan got into New York, and the day after we got there, it stopped snowing. But when obviously we arrived, it was like super cold. There was all like still sludge and stuff on the ground. No snow. Missed it by a day. Fuming. What was your highest paid deal?
I've been lucky. There's been a few big commercial jobs I've done that have involved social, but also then content for other brands. One of the biggest was around 50. 50K. So that was like a really cool big project to come in, multiple months. And yeah, so that was like a really big one. But then I'm lucky to have had a few others in that vicinity. So I feel like, the opportunity there, once I kind of figured out how to negotiate certain things, that really helped me progress and then know the value that I had for them when other brands would come with something similar, the usage rights, where it was going, if it was global, Europe, UK, is it on everything, just social, or everything, or whatever it might be. So that particular deal got me really, really
nice.
It was a nice one to then also help me.
How much of that budget that they pay you, how much did you spend on
it's a good question. Probably 15
on outsourcing.
Yeah. So you were left with after tax maybe 35. I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know actually.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing for.
Was it one piece of content?
One client, yeah. No, it was multiple pieces of content, but it was photo only.
Photo and video?
No, just photo.
Just photo. Oh, that's the dream. That is the dream.
Yeah, that was.
Do you know what? I can't remember the last time I got. Actually, I did. It was photo and video. I can't remember the last time I got a strictly only photo project.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely still more video is a massive part of what you do. So I'd imagine that's why.
But then I'm always I would love to just have a project where they just want stills.
Yeah, it's fun. It was nice to do that.
Nice.
From highest to lowest, what's the lowest paid deal you've ever done? I guess free would be the lowest.
Yeah, the free
and
is.
I've done free.
No, you don't have free stuff all the time. But when you start out, I think people forget that you can't just charge that much for your first campaign.
So rights to.
But I do stuff for free now for like one of my boys I met out in LA. Well, I met him in Yacht Week in Bora Bora, but then we went out to LA after, and he owns like a pickleball brand.
Sick.
Which is really popular in LA. I made him a little video for free because I thought it was sick. I just thought it was a cool, like, they had a vintage Porsche.
Yeah, nice.
Like, it was a day. I was like, I can use this against my socials as well, give them content. So I still do little bits now, here and there and everywhere.
Yeah.
I'd say the lowest deal that I've ever done, though, was, I think it was COVID year.
Okay.
And because COVID was the time where I, like, started uploading YouTube videos consistently, and it was like a big thing, like that time where everyone was indoors. Creators definitely skyrocketed if they were smart about, the amount of content they put out during that time. Yeah, really good opportunity. But it was after COVID, and they'd just opened the restaurants up, and I did a shoot for like a little restaurant that was local to me, and it was like a 2-day long shoot for like they were showing like cocktails. It was photo project as well, not video, just photo. And they were like making all these like cool dishes and these cool like.
How much?
Mate, I think I charged like 200
quid. Nice, for 2 days, £100 a day plus editing another day afterwards. 2 days afterwards.
No, I edited there and then.
Okay, fine. So 2 days total.
Yeah, I edited the. I'd shoot.
I don't think that's that bad. That's not that bad. No, I've heard worse.
Really?
Yeah. Like £75 for a 4-day shoot with like mad things, but
I had an A7, like so when I had like an A7 III.
Nice.
And then I didn't have any lighting at the time. I just had one light.
Okay.
And it was like a newer Amazon special.
Just got it in. I mean, that's what it's about though. And I think one of these things here is that yes, it's important to make sure you're valued as a creator, but I also think that, the value that you can give yourself is exponential if you do a free shoot and it's good, and you can then show that to someone else. And use that as
I think definitely doing free shoots, it's like a foot in the door. Do you know what I mean? Like you did, for all I know. I mean that shoot actually led me on to doing another job, and they paid me $1,000 for it. And that was like a few months down the line. Mm-hmm. So you could do something, and if you've got the time to just take something for free, you've got the opportunity. Then maybe it will come of it if you come back and they're like, oh, you did a really good job. Yeah, we've got a lot more budget this time. Yeah,
which does come in. And how do you negotiate with brands?
My management.
Yeah, fine.
What's the lowest deal you've taken?
Well, I think it was free.
Oh, free.
It would just be free, like just either to have like.
But say it wasn't free. Like, anything you did when you first was like.
I can't remember. Like probably in exchange for product, or like, do you know what I mean? When they send you a free pair of socks or something. But I honestly can't remember. No, there was nothing where I was like really rinsed. I feel like the first jobs that I got was like per photo.
Okay.
And so it was a flat rate of £25 per photo. But I could smash out 10, 20, 30 photos. So actually it was really good money. That was like my first paid jobs. Before that it was all free. After that, and then there's still been free shoots.
Yeah.
And then from there I don't really do anything for less than a couple of bags. But it depends on what
you're big time now.
But but it's just also like I feel like you're just constantly evolving, and like those smaller things don't come through the door because it's like you're so busy with those larger scale.
You've got priorities,
directing and everything else. So exactly. But I still do free shoots with friends.
Yeah.
Or if there's a brand that's like getting involved with a friend, I'll be like, I'll jump in and help you. I'll take some BTS. I'll take whatever, because it can just open up so many doors.
Well, even like if you was to film, say a new Bentley dropped, for instance, for argument's sake, but you've never worked with Bentley before, and
you have the opportunity,
and they were like, oh yeah, we want you want to shoot this car, and you're like, oh, it'd be cool to do like a YouTube video for my audience to show like me going on a day with this new car. Technically, that's a free shoot for your audience, because you're still buying the camera and you're still making that 100%. YouTube video that you're posting online for other people to watch. It might not be branded content. You might not have like a sponsorship in that video. Technically, it's a free video.
You don't know where that's going to go in the future. That's exactly what happened with my first Bentley, and that's how my relationship started with them. Was I had a friend of a friend who was getting a Bentley for a weekend, and I was like, "Hey, can I shoot on the Friday before you then go and do your shoot on the Saturday?" He was like, "Yeah, no worries." So I shot it for like 4 hours, posted it on my socials, never heard anything back, and was like, oh, cool. Well, that was fun. And then about 4 months later, then got an email saying, hey, we saw the content you posted via him. We loved it. We'd love to bring you in. And then I did 2 more free shoots for them before I then got my paid shoots. And now it's just like a constant relationship where it just comes in whenever, every few months. So it's crazy that like those happen.
That one little shoot.
Yeah.
It's like what we did. I mean, I've only shot Bentley in one location though.
Yeah.
The Peak District, I've shot 2 now in the same sort of spot, but a bit different. And obviously, I think Andrea was doing the photos.
Yeah,
and
he was doing that one,
did the video.
The video was sick. So good.
But then from the video, obviously, you never know. Like even another brand, another car brand could see it. So
it was interesting because actually after that, after my second set with Bentley, I then had Lamborghini, Aston Martin, and Maserati all in my DMs the day after. So it kind of like was a pretty. But that was
what was the photo?
I can't remember. It was a set from. I got to drive like about 10 different Bentleys on like an experience day, and I posted about that, and then that's when the other brands were like, okay, right. And I think Bentley posted a set, and it was just like a pretty crazy time. And then that was obviously also at the beginning of when they were starting to give photographers cars in the luxury market. It was very early on, so I feel that was like an early on stage.
Did they only just start that then?
I mean, this was just after COVID.
Oh right.
So like that was then. That was then when it
2021.
happened. So yeah, probably or maybe even before. No, like as in like probably in between that gap of when we had no lockdown to then lockdown again. I think that would have been when it was. Wow. But anyways, regardless, that was like that. And free shoots. Yeah, I'm here for them if it's gonna leverage.
If it's fun as well,
you up. And if it's fun.
Yeah,
100%.
Because you've got to remember the reason why you got into it. At the end of the day.
It's because it was fun. That's something I need to tell myself every day.
Just to remind myself. Money runs our lives, man.
But like it's just great. You're right though. Like to have that, like do it because it's fun.
How do you negotiate with brands?
How do I go negotiate with brands? Well, now obviously I'm very lucky to have management. I still do negotiate some, or I'll go in. I feel like having experience really helps with negotiation. You know what to look for in the contracts. You know what to look for, and what your rate is. And that can come with, especially like early on, a lot of the guys used to message me and ask, this has come in, what's the fee that they should be doing? And I'll just help them out really. And I learned a lot from trial and error. Yeah. Because there was no right or wrong, and it's a bit of a wild west with brands and how much money they have, especially in the social and like influencing space. So yeah, I feel like I just kind of swam through those waters and then could help other creators around me. And then we'd all talk and kind of help each other out there. So that really helped with me then being able to negotiate in a stronger manner of like, this is the terms, this needs to be taken out, this needs to be added, and then that can go from there. So, but now, luckily, again, like we have management, and it's nice to be able to then pass that over.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very, very big weight off your shoulders.
What's the number one thing you ask brands before you collaborate? Have you got one? Top of your head? I can go with one.
Yeah, you
sure. So one thing I'll look at in a brief is the exclusivity.
Yeah.
Because that hurt me very early on. There was a phone brand. I locked myself in unknowingly for 6 months. 3 months later, I had another phone brand come in for triple the money. And they were like, yeah, we really want to work with you. And then I checked, and I was under contract for another 3 months. And then, of course, that particular thing was just like one post. So it wasn't, and this is early doors where I just wasn't making a huge amount. And so then I learned, I was like, right, no more 6 month exclusivities. So that's one of the major things that I look for I ask when.
That's a good point, I think. Now, well, I think, touch wood, never happened to me. Oh, wait, I lie. It did happen to me this year again, but it wasn't. They offered more. It was just a big gig that I was like, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, it would have been fun, but yeah.
Yeah, fair. But this was one that 3 months later into a 6 months.
But you were gutted.
I was, but also I learned, right? And these things, if I'd done it again, that's when I'd have been annoyed. But I hadn't done it before, so I learned, moved on, and then learned from it. So yeah, I didn't feel too bad. Do you diversify your income as a creator? And if so, how? So like, do you sell presets, LUTs? Do you sell merch?
I'm working on a website at the moment that I want to work on essentially to give my audience stuff that I would do essentially. So one thing that I really wanted to sell is an overlays pack, for instance, or a text font pack. So stuff that I use in my video that people like.
Sure.
But then, maybe even overlays, making my own overlays. That's something that I did a bit of research into, and just I experimented with that, using that across some of my content. And then if people are, where'd you get your overlays from? Where'd you get your title animations from? It's kind of resonates to me as a creative rather than trying to do so. I haven't sold presets in quite some time now, just because I've been working on making them, but also I wanted to wait for the right time. I want to have a proper
it's
website.
One of those things, it takes such a long time to do it, and then by the time you're ready, you're like, I've changed things now, and then you want to do it again. And
I haven't had my own website. I really, really wanted to tailor it so that I can constantly update it. Everything looks really cohesive on there. It's got work, and it's got my passion projects. It's got my presets, things like that. So definitely, that is a good way, I think, to obviously earn. And at the end of the day, it's a business. So you've got to try and do what you can in order to generate the income. Because if you're not like us and you're not and brands aren't coming through the door that aren't paying the amounts that they're paying now, you've got to figure out a way to at least make money. Do you know what I mean? So one shoot that comes in at $1,000 or something a week or whatever might not be enough for your lifestyle. You could have rent to pay. I don't know who is watching this or who's, what anyone's living situation is, but you've always got to figure out, as a business, how can you make more? Because the more money you make, the more you grow, the more money you can, because
just the more money
makes money.
Yeah.
Spending money makes money.
No LUTs?
LUTs something I'm working on, but I've never sold LUTs before.
I think you do good at that. That'd be cool.
But it's something that I'm literally working. I've been working on it for the past few months now. I actually found a website designer in LA who's really talented.
Nice. And
he said he'll help me out with it. Because it's, again, as a solo creative, as a solo business owner, or someone that, you've got to think about all of the things that we take on. Things do get pushed to the bottom of the list.
Yeah, there's a lot. And do you make diversifying your income off the back of that? Do you make your money, most of it, through Instagram and paid social, or do you do any commercial jobs on the side that you're
it's both?
It's both. Okay, I'd say that's definitely diversifying as well.
Definitely it's a decent spread of
cool.
But then again, it's all on socials, because that's where all the content's going now.
Sure.
Then I've had gigs that aren't going on socials. But I had a guy last year, a Swiss guy, who wanted me to film his one of his events, and he didn't even post it on Instagram. He just wanted to have it on his website that all his friends look at.
Yeah, fine.
So
there's a lot of opportunities.
Definitely. How do you diversify your income?
So it's a tough split. I guess a large proportion is social, through social media, and through social media paid campaigns. Then there's corporate jobs and directing videos. So then I direct adverts, which is never even seen on my socials, really. And then I do sell presets. I have a couple of preset packs which are out there, which generate a small amount, just an additional source, because it's obviously good to have that. I've thought about doing courses and some sort of some sort of way.
A big thing to do a course.
Yeah, I think it'd be really good. And obviously, the more it's one of these things that I never wanted to do anything until I've experienced a lot, and I feel I give value to the audience and value to other people, because there's a lot of people out there that will preach, but they haven't actually gone through a huge amount. And I feel like the more I go through after being in the industry for longer and longer, after maybe another year or something, I'll then have a well diverse level of experience that I can then hopefully put together and help other people. Because at the end of the day, a big thing, obviously with UK shooters and in general with everything I've done, has always been about helping other creators or helping other people and having a team. So I've always had that kind of mindset, and that's something that I would like to do. And of course, in order for it to be worthwhile the time, you need to then make some money from it, and you need to then do that. So I feel like a course could be a really good way of diversifying.
What about if you did just an idea? What would a group course
Group courses.
So say if you got like a bunch of us together, like I don't know,
so other people
like
as well.
Me, you, Andrea, like loads of other creators, and then you all well, no, but you all did like imagine you all did like one video where it kind of showed something
different,
and then you can. It's essentially like you could all like.
I'm pretty sure Keenan's actually done one of those, or someone I know. But it could be really good because then you get paid off
of or I don't know how you'd work out the cost or whatever, but then you could say, for this, for this particular course on I don't know photo editing, you can pay for Ben's, you can pay for Andrea's, or if you pay an X amount, you could get the whole lot. So it could be a good
there's lots of ways. Yeah, 100%. There we go. There's lots of ways to do it, but that's how I try and split it, and then obviously across multiple platforms as well. So not just doing YouTube or just doing Instagram. I've tried to make sure that if one of those platforms did disappear, that I'd have another platform to fall back on. And then also, if every social media platform disappeared, then I would still have that
a way to make money.
Yeah, a way to make money.
As long as you got, I think for a lot of people, as long as you've got a camera and you've got the knowledge you've been working on, everything needs videoing, everything needs photographing. Whether it's like something you see on a bus stop.
Well, there's more and more opportunity now with like the amount of content that we're consuming, and every single brand has to be constantly doing it. So I feel like there would be more opportunities.
I was just wondering, do you ever feel out of touch sometimes when talking about content creation and your struggles as a content creator to your non-content creator friends?
Very good question. So did you hear that?
Can you repeat that one more time?
So when you're going out with friends that are non-content creators, how does the conversation go? It's very hard. I find it so much easier to go out with someone that's also in the space than my old friends from home, when they just can't quite grasp what we do and they can't understand the opportunities and the things
on a scale of like 1 to 100.
1 to 100, that's a big scale.
What would you say? 100 being the hardest, 10 being you can easily converse with someone who has nothing to do with your...
No, it's definitely 50-50. So it's a 50-50 split. But that's also because like I feel that there's enough things going on that I can converse about, but I'd then say it's way easier to converse with someone that's in the social space, even if I don't know them, to someone that I've been friends with for 20 years that is not in the space, because they just don't quite understand it. And they'll be like, I saw you were in such and such country, and you'd be like, yeah, plus another 5, but I did this and did that, and they're just like, cool, I got my bathroom fixed on the weekend. And it's like a very different lifestyle. So that question is actually something that's become more and more to light over the last sort of like year and a half to 2 years, I think, since this has become a massive part of my life. I don't know if you found it with friendship groups or whether your friendship group has kind of been built off creators, because I had obviously a career before this, before content creation, and then I also have my friends from school and college, so there's a bit of a different thing there, whereas a lot of the younger guys have all come through and their friendship group has just grown because they're creators.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about like people that I hang out with now who aren't. There's like 3 of my closest friends. One of them does YouTube, but not like he Nightscape. So like he's one of my closest mates. We're both content creators, but when we link up, we do, but we also don't discuss content. Whereas like 2 of my other mates who are in the circle, one of them's an RAF pilot, completely separate to what I do, but. Like we play games together, like we play Siege and
so then you have that common interest.
Yeah, I mean we go fishing.
Yeah, fine. So you have like, common interest, which is then linked.
Yeah.
But if there's that bridge, the bridge is not there if they're not.
I don't find it difficult to converse with someone who's not a content creator, because a lot of the time when someone's asked me something about what I do, or if I ask them about something what I do, it will that can spark a bit of conversation, whether you're talking about what they've been doing or what I've been doing. You can always sort of lead. You always find a bit of a common interest with it, whether it's someone that you don't know. But then, I think now you think of it, there's not a lot of people that I see nowadays from like back in the day, if that makes sense, like old 100%. School friends who I link up with.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Everyone I've met through this industry. So it's pretty interesting.
Good question.
Yeah, really good.
Hi. So I've been offered a contract, and they want one Instagram post and one story set with 4 frames per month. And I don't know how much to charge for this, and I have 10,000 followers.
Small, but
small,
mighty.
But yeah,
that's a great contract to have at that. Cool. So 9 months, 9 posts. Is that correct? 9 months, 9 posts, 9 month, 10K, 9 posts. What are you charging? What are you advising? Sorry.
Well,
this isn't your page, obviously.
I don't want to compare it to when I had 10K because times have changed. So
yeah, it was. I didn't even think I made a penny when I was at 10K.
Yeah, no. I remember I got flown out to Miami when I hit 10K.
Nice.
For a job with Puma.
Living the dream. Did you get paid?
Yeah, I was
sick.
Gassed. But yeah, that was my first gig. That was at 10K. But I would say for 10K followers, again, it's all down due to like the quality of the content, right? So from
ballpark,
because
it could be anything from,
because there's people that I follow now who are like, I think are better than me, and they've got 10K followers, and they're putting in the same amount of effort that I put in. So I'm like, well, I would charge a lot of money for that.
Yeah, I guess the main thing here is the brand was going to want reach, and therefore, do they have good engagement? Is the quality content?
There's a lot of things that need to be answered.
Literally it could be anything from 4,000 to 10,000.
Yeah,
it's probably the ballpark.
I would say maybe like 4's pretty good.
I think it's pretty good if you got 10K.
For 10K, 4K, £4,000 is pretty decent.
It's pretty mad actually. But then again, you're still creating a lot. You're saying 9.
So if you divide,
it depends on what the content is.
Divide 4,000 by 9. I'd call it 5. 5 grand.
Yeah.
So
technically, you take 4.
Yeah, I'd take 4. It's like that's like 4. It's £400 a reel.
I think that's pretty decent. That's actually a lot of money. Yeah, I would say probably anything between 3 and up. Because realistically, I would back in the day would have done it for 100 quid. So
yeah,
I know that we've still done things much cheaper.
£400 a reel that's
actually a lot of money.
Really good. It's actually good.
Yeah, that's okay. But let's assume they have great engagement and their content is amazing. Then we'll go with that.
Okay.
Done.
Lovely. Thanks for calling the C-on-C hotline. We'll see you next week. Actually, this is the last episode.
Yeah.
So you won't see you last week.
But that's fine.
We'll see you in a month.
We'll see you in the next one. Key takeaways.
Yeah. Chinese. Indian. Pizza.
What is your final message to content creators or anyone looking to become a content creator?
Don't do it.
Nah.
You have no life.
Is that it?
No. My final message to content creators. I would say show up. It's the best message I think I can give, because showing up, and I landed so many of my gigs by just showing face, whether it was paid or not paid, going to events with other photographers, meeting people, whether you would have taken time out of your day, just showing up can and will potentially lead to something. Because if it worked for me, like, I'm going to tell you guys a story now, because I showed up at a Boohoo event, not paid, like Boohoo Man event, not paid. One of my friends from Love Island, he was doing like a
flex.
Well, it was just I didn't really know what was going on. I just went down there with my camera and I just said, okay, a couple of shots of him. It wasn't for Boohoo, nothing like that. And I met someone on that day who was like, oh, we're looking for a photographer for like it was almost, I think it was like men's and women's like swimwear or something. And they were doing a whole campaign around Coachella, and they literally were like, oh,
sick.
Do you want to come out to Coachella?
Did you go?
And I went.
Sick.
And I was like, I can't believe that I got that from going to this. And just because I just showed up and did a couple of shots, just spoke to someone from the team, showed them some of the bits. At that time, my Instagram wasn't like crazy, but it was still like, I think I had a decent amount of work on there, and it wasn't. I think, and as well, working on your Instagram and social presence, because the more you work into that, because essentially, like nowadays, Instagram's like your portfolio.
Yeah, it is. 100%.
It's your CV online.
Yeah.
So investing time into making that look as good as you want, putting your best work on there, will always guarantee you to land like big jobs, and your reputation will just grow and grow and grow.
100%.
So
I think you summed that up really well. I can't lie. The show up message, I think, is the part that's underrated. I think being there and making sure that you are just seen and a face-to-face at a networking event is so valuable and so potentially undervalued, because when you go actually make those real life connections, that person remembers you, and who knows, as you said, further down the line, who knows who you meet, and then that will then lead to some awesome opportunities. And I know that's exactly how I know exactly how that happens. It's I've got a story.
So it's exactly how it happened with Bentley for you, for instance. So you just
exactly.
showed up, you did a bit of content for like just because you thought it would be fun, and then all of a sudden, a few years down the line, you got a massive contract.
Yeah, it's mad. You also don't know who you're going to meet. Like, you don't know what people do, and I never ask, what do you do to be interested, in terms of like, I'm only going to talk to someone that does something that's in an industry that I'm trying to get in with. It's just you show general interest in everyone, and that can also be through DMs. I'll share a story, and I guess it's a slight flex.
Story time.
Yeah, here we go. But it's very similar in terms of like, I had a DM from someone. He was like, we followed each other, but I had no idea who he was. He was in the UK. I was super busy. At the time, I had another full-time job, so I was doing that. I had one day to go in, and I was shooting a car. This is my first ever car shoot. He was like, dope, I'll come along. I was like, amazing. Here's the location. I'm going to be there at 6:30 p.m. Would love to meet you and just connect. This is in the old days of like just DMing and hanging out. And he came, and we chatted for maybe 45 minutes. He shot a bit of the car. I shot a bit of the car. And we then went our separate ways. And he was like, man, thanks so much for showing me like some of your work and how to shoot long exposures and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, man, no worries at all. It was great to meet you. And then about 4 months later, I then had a message from him say, by the way, I think you're going to get an email from the agency that worked for me. And I was like, he's like, I kind of forgot what he did, but he mentioned he was in the UK working for Xbox. Turns out he's very high up in Xbox. He put me forward for a campaign, and suddenly I was there creating a global launch campaign for new accessories, and I was doing photo and video for this massive campaign, and it was one of the biggest things I'd ever done. And that came just because I replied to a DM and was open to having a conversation and meeting someone. And if you don't put yourself out there to meet people and to do that, then there's opportunities that will just like skip over you. And so you never know, as you said, who you're speaking to and who people are. And so that was a pretty cool moment where I was like, shit, like that actually like became one of the big clients. I then
it's almost like you don't know until you just it happens. Does that make sense?
And who knows how many times you've missed that because you haven't said yes, or you've been busy and you haven't managed to link up with that person to shoot or whatever it might be. So I think definitely network, meet people, and show up. Showing up is the main thing that will get you through so many doors.
Definitely. And I think as well it just makes opportunities or potential opportunities more likely to happen if that's the case.
100%.
And as well, practicing. I would say practicing, taking time to like practice. For instance, like for me, like color grading was something I really wanted to master.
And you have it.
And I just sit there and I would just make content about it, or I would consume content and follow along, because YouTube, there's so much on there. And if you can find like an hour in your day, like you said, like maybe not going, out for drinks or going. I'm not saying be a home.
No, 100%. But it's those little mini sacrifices. Sometimes I was out last night and then I can't do 2 in a row. I'm gonna have to make sure I do that.
Yeah, I'm not saying don't go out, but like maybe miss when all the boys are going out on a bender. Those 3 hours you're out, take 3 hours to learn Resolve. Take 3 hours.
3 hours is a short bender if that's what it is. You're looking at sort of.
Well, I mean, 3 hours is better than none.
No,
do you know what I mean?
No, 100%.
Or learn something online that could
YouTube's an amazing thing as well. I would definitely tell people whenever they're starting off, like, there's so much to consume.
There's so much on YouTube.
Such a great platform.
Taking some time just to like do that and educate yourself.
which leads us on to, and I think both of us are going to have similar answers here, is have you got any future exciting projects coming up? Or what are you working on? We mentioned this before we got started chatting. A big thing for you was YouTube.
Yeah, so just my YouTube vlogs, I think. I've got one which I'm editing from the Bora Bora trip, which is like a cool vlog. And I have, I have a short film coming out.
Amazing.
Which I filmed in February with a few, Rob Ash?
Probably. I'm sure
his Instagram's at Asher.
Okay.
You might know him, might not. Very cool dude, great snowboarder. We made a skiing film in Verbier for Audi. And we did like a whole basically we all knew each other. Me and Rob knew each other and met each other. So me and Yuri, there's 4 of us that went. Only 2 of us from that group of 4 had met each other, but the others hadn't. And it was all like the story is about us as creators and people who have an eye for photography, but we also love to ski. And it was about meeting up, how we can bond through skiing and how the sport allows us to kind of escape the busy life. Yeah. And so, it's a really cool film. And
when's that coming out?
That's coming out hopefully
Put
June.
A date on it. I want a specific date for people.
20th of June.
All right, perfect.
20th of June.
Let's see. And what's the social handle we can find that on?
It'll just be on it's going on everyone's channels, all of us. Okay. So they'll be across all of our channels.
This is where you sell yourself, Ben. I'm just kidding. I'm putting
it'll be on my Instagram. Go on my Instagram and watch it. Okay.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, and I think that's one that's previously, obviously, that was in February. But there's always things coming up. I'm going to Asia with Vic and Alan Walker.
Sick.
On the 8th of June for his tour. So doing some DJing. It's like at EDC done Vegas, so you'll know what that's like.
Yeah.
Did you have to use Did you have earplugs every night when you were shooting?
Yeah. Depends on where you are.
I need to get
How'd you meet Alan Walker? Is it
through Vic?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
sick.
I need some earplugs.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Would be on.
Yeah, I didn't even mention that. Yeah, live music is a big thing that I do as well, and actually that's part of my diverse portfolio is to also shoot.
Yeah, I've seen your Vegas. I'm surprised you're not there right now.
I was just in the UK shoot road
tomorrow.
Trip. Nah, so it was on the weekend, but I double booked myself, so I couldn't go because of the UK shooters road trip, which was a shame. But also, it was great to be then building community and doing all that up in Scotland.
Exactly.
So, but it was cool.
What about yourself? Give me some future projects. Future projects, but also give me one that you've done recently that you like.
I mean, it's been an insane start to the year already.
It's halfway through the year.
It's been mad. Yeah, I know, but I feel like I haven't stopped. So it's quite nice to I have 2 weeks in the UK, which I'm excited about, where I can just level off. One that's just finished was the UK Shooters road trip. So it'd be cool just to briefly chat and anyone that is still with us to discuss community. So community is such a big thing. We've obviously mentioned it before, and UK Shooters is a community, for those that don't know, that hosts photography and creator events, people to come to meet like-minded people, network, create
basically
content.
Do everything that we've just spoken about.
Yeah, and exactly. And who knows who's going to be there, because we have some actually mad brands that come along just because they just enjoy being there and seeing the community together. They're usually sponsored by a brand, but we also have brands that do actually randomly come along. So the last one we did a little panel talk. I had no idea that someone from Samsung was sitting front row and just taking it all in as a attendee.
Yeah, Manlight.
And it wasn't. And then there's everyone. There's so many brands that come along, and Sony are obviously involved, and Fujifilm, and so we have some great sponsors there. And it's not just about the opportunities there; it's also about the people that you meet, and that was the reason why. That started in 2016 when I just wanted people to meet each other because it was quite a seller's hobby. So that project just finished with Sony and Adobe UK, which is really cool. Up in Scotland, we hosted events in Manchester, Glasgow, and Edinburgh. So that was pretty intense, super, super fun to be on the.
How long were you there for?
We were there for, it was 8 days. So we did technically 3 events in a row, but one of them was just it was we were just shooting at a castle and invited people to join us. But we did, Manchester on a Saturday, Glasgow on a Sunday, and then Edinburgh on the following Saturday.
Cool.
And then in the middle, shot some content for Bentley, which was cool. So we had a car. And again, we have models, so it's just a thing.
I mean, you can't complain having a sick car like that.
No, that was pretty mad. Yeah.
Did you drive? Was you in charge of the car?
I was in charge of the car. Yeah.
And did they? Did Bentley?
We had one other insured driver, Oscar. Oscar, me and him drove Bentleys in when we did a project together in Dubai. So I knew I trusted him.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So that was all good. So that was in the past. That was just done. Obviously, amazing community-based project. And then moving forward,
anything this year?
I mean, there's quite a bit.
So much.
I don't even, like, it's hard when someone says, "What are you doing?" I have to actually get my phone out and say, "Oh, so tomorrow I'm doing this, and then Saturday I'm doing that, and Sunday I'm doing that." So there's lots of music festivals. I'm doing Glastonbury for the first time, which I'm super excited about. We're going back to Tomorrowland, so that'll be really enjoyable. So there's like fun.
What date are you doing Tomorrowland?
17th
of
July. That's the
I may
first
be there.
day. That'd be sick if you
Maybe.
Let me know.
I'm doing Wimbledon actually.
Oh, mad. Never done that.
On the
I'm
7th.
doing Silverstone. That's the first time. So sporting events.
Yeah.
Also doing some Premier League for the first time. And then the big thing, which is when I said to you about YouTube as well, was that I'm planning and we have right now in the works a big plan to move YouTube forward with an episode series, which is then more based around a certain idea I have that hopefully will work with long form, and we can go out and it's basically a BT behind the scenes of following other people around that actually do things in the industry. So whether that's maybe going to a Premier League game and showing what it's like to be a Premier League footballer, whatever it might be, because I love behind the scenes content, and I feel that there's a good opportunity there, especially with then the things that I've shot in the past. I have the knowledge of already to be able to kind of half shoot it and then learn from them as well. So YouTube's the big one. I'm hoping I can get to a consistent level where we're able to do it. And you know what, it's so hard.
Yeah, YouTube is definitely, I think as well, when you have ideas and you want to put them on YouTube, it's like, it's easier doing it on short form.
Yeah,
because you can pump out like short form content like crazy. And yeah, YouTube, I think once you invest the time into it, because I've seen the results, you invest the time into it, it does pay off. And the way that I'm sort of structuring it now is I'm doing like tutorials, and then I'll do like vlogs, and then maybe like a little day in the life, and then maybe it all depends what I want to film, or it depends what I'm doing. Like I'll definitely do a video like behind the scenes, like it's all behind the scenes documentation, but then it could be like if I go on, for instance, like with Alan Walker and Vic stuff, I could maybe like incorporate, you know, the new Sony lens that's come out, the 16-35, maybe doing a review of that lens, but then taking it away and seeing, you know, how it is in the real world, essentially.
Yeah, 100%.
But as YouTubers, you can always like find ideas or things to make content around. It'll be mostly like tech, but then, you know, I might have a fashion shoot where I'll take people behind the scenes on how we've done that, or behind the scenes on a film. So it's all BTS related anyway.
Yeah.
But that's where you can get your personality out as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And people can actually like relate to you as a human.
Yeah, being relatable is super important as well. I feel that's a really big thing to have across all social media, in whatever that platform is. And there's different ways to make yourself relatable on different platforms, because they all lead to different ways to do it. So talking of that, where can we find you on social?
Instagram and YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it?
At Ben Maclean. Well, actually, it's an X for the Ben, so BXN, and then an X for the A.
Across all M-A-C. Socials?
Yeah. Ben Maclean.
No, it's confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing. I really wanted to change my username and get at Ben, and the guy
Ben. I mean, that'd be free. That'd be
the guy charged me $24,000.
Yeah, that's because it's worth probably about that much money. Ben.
At Ben. I tried to get that username.
We don't go follow at Ben.
Just YouTube.
Follow Ben.
YouTube Ben Maclean, and it will be there.
All right, brilliant.
What about?
Very lucky. M.visuals across all social platforms.
See, this is where like. I'm actually so sad. I wish mine was the same across them all.
Yeah, I mean,
Ben on YouTube.
I jumped in on all of them at a stage where I could just get them all. So yeah, I managed to get it on YouTube, managed to get it on Instagram, managed to get it on TikTok, and then Twitter doesn't do dots, but I got M Visuals, which
with no dot.
Well, they don't have dots on Twitter.
Yeah.
So like I just managed to get M Visuals with no dots.
That's crazy. You managed to get
M Visuals. I have it across the whole thing. So yeah, at M.Visuals across all social media, and of course at UK.shooters for any social media community events. So make sure you check us out and follow us.
I'm going to change my username now. I get home. I need at Ben.
I mean, that would be the dream.
Crazy flex.
Yeah, that would be a mad flex. Thanks, creators on creators, for having us. My name is Mike Will. I am .visuals.
My name is Ben Maclean. Ben, that's it.
Make sure you drop a comment below, or give this a thumbs up on any of the podcasting websites / streaming platforms. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and make sure you check out another one.
Wow.